Hi, I'm Alexis, welcome to Alexis Guitars, and this is part 4 of my scratch build for the Great Guitar Build-Off 2021. In this episode, I'm focused on the guitar neck again. Now, I made the guitar neck back in episode 2, which was a lot of fun, but in this episode, I need to be installing the frets, crowning them, dressing them, polishing them. I'm going to be installing the nuts, drilling the holes out for the tuners, and installing the side dots. Basically, by the end of this episode, I should have a fully functional neck. Now, this is only the third fret job that I've actually ever done. The first time round, I very ambitiously used stainless steel frets and I had no idea what I was doing, made a complete mess of it. The second time round, I actually made a video documenting it and it turned out pretty well. So my experience is pretty limited to say the least, but it's absolutely a skill that I want to improve. The more I get into guitar building, the more I really appreciate great fret work. As usual, there are things that went well in this episode and things that didn't quite go to plan. Let's get straight to it. Well, I've got all of the frets installed and I had to go over it a few times actually with a hammer just to make sure they were all seated in nicely, because there was some where after I had nipped the ends off, maybe because I kind of pulled up a little bit, the ends came out a bit, so I had to hammer them back down, but I'm happy with how it is now, and there's a pretty good connection all the way through, so that's great. I really like the look of this fretboard. I think that looks really cool. So, next job is to smoothen out these rough edges using a file, and after that I can do some leveling out. Still a long way to go, but it's so nice to see it coming together. I'm trying to do this so carefully because the last time I used this thing I kept slipping and the file kept damaging the frets. So these are nice frets. I think they're called GGBO frets, I'm not sure. So I don't want to do that again. And in my last refretting video, which was months ago now, I really said some bad things about this tool. Clearly it was all my fault. I just need to be careful when using this thing. Ah, fuck, it happened again. Oh well, it's only a little scratch, so I'm hoping that when I smoothen everything out, I need to level this all down anyway, so hopefully little superficial scratches like that won't be a big problem. Ah, I hate this tool. It's probably not the tool's fault, it's probably mine, but I hate using this tool. My phone decided to die on me as I was leveling out all of the frets here, which is a real shame because you missed out on some awesome, exciting footage of me using my straight edge here and going over this for ages. So yeah, apologies for that, but I've leveled this out now. There's still a few little spots that are a bit low. I actually had to remove a fair bit of material, unfortunately, which doesn't speak much in favour of my fret installation technique. But I've got it to a stage now where I use the fret rocker and it's pretty much stable all across, which is great. And so now it's just a case of rounding this over so that I can get it nice again. So I've got a bit of help for the next job I'm going to be doing, and the next thing I'm going to be doing is trying one of these things out. So this here is something that I got this tip from Agufish, which is another YouTube video I watch, and this is actually something I've never used before, but it's for nail polishing, and it's like a foam pad with lots of different grit of sandpaper, and it says here, step 1 is coarse grits to shape the nail, step 2 is medium grits to refine the shape, and I'm going to be using this for the fret job with a bit of help from Pella here. And polishing up the fretwork. So we'll see if this tip is actually worth it, and if it is, then that's pretty cool. If not, then I've got to find the proper way to do it. So I've done one fret now, this one over here, and I'm really happy with it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's coming out on camera, but it's basically got a mirror finish. It's super smooth, whereas all the others are really scratchy and rough from the file. So I can really recommend these things. I basically worked my way up from step 3, which is fine grit to smooth the edges of the nail, and worked my way up step 4, condition nail, smooth nail, and where 6 and 7, nail buffer, polish and shine, and that left me with this really nice mirror finish. So I can really recommend these things. I mean, it doesn't have to be this specific one. Obviously, I just picked this one because it was a pack of 7 or so for about €5. So way cheaper than getting those specific those fret rubbers or the other things I've seen specific for frets, which this is just way cheaper. I'm sure those things are amazing, but this works really well. I'm going to be doing all of my guitars. I'm going to be going over all of the frets on all of my guitars using this thing because that's a really nice finish. Alright, well that's one done. All of these to go. Okay, well the frets are polished, and on the camera they still look a little bit dusty, but they're feeling super smooth, and I'm happy with that. I'd be very happy to play on these things. Need to really clean up the fretboard now. So the drawback to these things is that I probably only use them on one fret job only, because they kind of wear away. I might have been going at it a bit harder than I need to be fair. But overall, they're still pretty affordable, so as quick, disposable, one-time things, I'm pretty happy with this little hack. I think it's pretty cool. So I've got the frets pretty much done now. I'll go over it with a fret rocker again just to kind of double check everything, obviously, now that I've filed them down a little bit more with this. And now that I have the heights of my frets pretty much set, the next job is the nut. Once the nut's done, I can move on to drilling out some holes for the machine heads. The nut slot and it fits fine, but the thing is, when I was sawing the slot, I sawed it a bit too deep on one end. So what I did was I just put some wood glue in there and scraped. Oh, I've still got a little bit more to scrape away, but I scraped away the excess so that slit is filled up. And that reminded me, actually, I've got another big job to do. All of these fret slots are way too deep, so I need to get some sanding dust, mix it with some wood glue, and fill those up, and then file it all down again. Now it's in a bit better light, so maybe I can just show you that the fret job. I still need to round the edges of the sides over. I ordered myself a fret file, hasn't arrived yet, so all of the polishing I did was for the main bit, the front bits, but the top, but the rounding off the edges is something I'm going to have to do another day when that fret file arrives. But I'm happy with this fret job. The frets are nice and polished, and I can't wait to actually play it. I really hope it's all intonated well. That's the thing. I don't know how the fret slotting went. Time will tell. Still a couple episodes left before I actually plug this in, but this is all good fun. So, time for the second scariest job of the guitar build so far. The scariest job by far was cutting out the fret slots, but this is a close second. This is drilling out the tuner hole. So I've got this template, found it online. It's one of the ones I used to design the headstock shape in the first place, and I had actually drawn it on the wood. You can kind of see a bit of a guideline there, but I figured let me use the template because, I mean, I'm not going to get this precise because I'm going to be doing this by hand with a hand drill, but as precise as possible would be optimal. So just going to have to give this a go. I think what I'm going to do is clamp this down to another piece of wood underneath to try and prevent tear out, but we'll see how that goes. And also I might drill some guide holes first with a much thinner drill bit, with a much thinner built drill bit, because I'm not sure what the best way to do this is. Should I just go for it just from the top straight down and have that wood underneath and hopefully that will prevent tear out? Or with the guide hole, shall I drill halfway from here and halfway from underneath so it meets in the middle and then there's no tear out? But the thing is, I'm not going to be that accurate. There's no way I'm going to be that accurate. If the tear out is bad at the back, I can always just use a veneer like I did on the fronts. I mean, that wouldn't be my favorite thing to do, but if I have to, then I have to. Can you tell I'm procrastinating? I've just got to get on with it now, don't I? So, you know what? I've bought worse necks from eBay, so that's not too bad at all. Ooh, at the back there's some chipping, some bad chipping here, and this dent here, but the rest is okay. Bear in mind, a lot of this is going to be covered by the tuners themselves. At the front though, I just need to get a file and clean up the insides of these holes, and that should be good to go. I'm not saying this is a great job, but it's not a terrible job, so while I was doing it, I was thinking, I am ruining this. But somehow, could be a lot worse. So another closer look, and it's looking much better now. Still a few little chipped areas, but the actual tuning pegs should fix that. In terms of how even they're spread out, they look okay, but I think this one in particular, these two might be slightly at an angle, kind of like this, exaggerated, but you know what I mean. And from the back, there's a bit more chipping. Here there's an ugly one, so I might fill that with some super glue and sanding dust. Same with this little bit here, but the rest is something I can live with. I mean, there's a little line there. I don't know if that's coming out on the camera. So I'll see. But that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, there we go. So I thought I was done with all the jobs for this episode, but I checked my to-do list and I forgot an important one. There are no side dots on this guitar, so that's what I'm going to do now, and that should be the last job that happens in this episode. So, that didn't go well. I marked out the center points. You can hopefully see a few little dots where I marked out with a nail. Just went over it with I just tried drilling and somehow it's off center. If they're all equally off center, then it's not going to be an issue. But oh man, how annoying. This should be such an easy job. Oh well. Onwards and upwards. So side dots are drilled in, and am I happy with the job? No, not really, but it's done and I'm happy about that. So you can see they're not really in a line, they're kind of in a swervy up and down kind of thing, which I could say was planned to do this kind of swaying thing the way it's turned out, but no, it was not planned. It's funny, I saw these templates online and I thought, why would I buy a template for side dots? It's just literally drilling in these, but yeah, I was a fool. I should have absolutely invested in some side dot templates. So lesson learnt, when there's a template, get a template, unless you can do it yourself, and I clearly can't. But it's just side dots, and the main job is for me to know where I am on a fretboard, and even though they're slightly off center, they'll perform that function absolutely fine. So after all that, it looks like I actually have a guitar neck. This thing is basically just one quick sanding job away from having finish applied to it. And as you saw right at the end, I lowered the neck pocket so that it's sitting a lot nicer in the body. So installing the actual frets wasn't tricky, but the leveling job did highlight to me that although this is a roughly 12-inch radius fretboard, down here it's not very evenly sanded. It actually dips down a little bit, so that normally a 12-inch radius would be pretty even. This one kind of goes down a little bit further than it should at this end here. Now I put that down to me not using any straight edges next to the sanding block to help guide it in a nice straight line so it evenly sands all over the fretboard. It was a bit of a mistake to just freehand it. But I managed to level with frets though, so I'm really curious once I string this up to see whether there's any high frets. I know that there probably will be and I will need to do some fine tuning, but for now, to the best of my knowledge and the best of my skills, which, okay, is limited with fret jobs, it seems like it's okay. Now the rest of the jobs in this episode seems to have gone pretty well, apart from installing the side dots. What happened there? Actually, I know what happened. I rushed it. And I'm really disappointed that I rushed it because it would have only required a little bit more effort to basically get the job done right. Luckily though, the side dots aren't a big deal for me. I don't particularly care that they're wonky. It doesn't look great, but I'm really the only one that's going to see it when I'm playing. The main thing is I marked the correct frets. That was a bigger deal for me. I counted about 2-3 times just to make sure that this is the 3rd fret, that's the 5th, 7th, 9th, and so on. So I'm really happy to say that the guitar is really coming together. In the next episode, I'm going to be applying the finish to the body and the neck, and I can't wait for that. I do have quite a bit of sanding to do, which I've been avoiding up until now, so that has to get done. But once that's out of the way, I'll be finishing this up. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, drop me a comment below, and if you're new to the channel and enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing. So that's all from me for today. Till next time.